Alright, let's see. Is everything in order? Yes. Everything looks like it's firing. Better close that. Right, better close this too. Oh. Don't save, thank you. Okie dokie. Alright, well, let's see here. As we can see, I've got, oh, right. Does remind me. I was gonna uptie some identities and read their stories real quick before I got this metaphorical show on the road. Because apparently I'd never upgraded, the Dieshi Ishang, and I think the Yuradive Ryoshu. And the new Mr. Salt ID came out. We'll see if it holds a candle to Blade lineage, but I mean, probably. It is paramount in the mastery of the fist that I remain fully aware of the structure of human anatomy. Barring basic cardiovascular fitness training, striking at punching bags, the ways of improving one's body are truly numerous. However, one must spend a significant amount of time before a desk, pen in hand, to truly grasp what constitutes the mastery of the fist. Have you ever experienced fatigue so extreme that each step feels as though you are wading through a quagmire? Yet in that exhaustion, my mind is cleared like the reflective surface of a freshly minted coin. I grow rather joyous on such occasions. To gaze upon the blueprint of a human body in solitude is to train my brain as one does body, to fortify the threads of my mind as one does the threads of musculature. I imagine the human anatomy in equivalence to an architecture. In the Association Library's knowledge repository, those countless bundles of paper, I have found most interesting the subject of architecture. Considering that the young child lifted from a terrible fate by the Association found the sections under architecture and human anatomy most interesting as he perused from A row to H row of the library. It would be no hyperbole to say that these two subjects have much in common. Shear wall structure, trusses design, flat slab construction. I soon came to understand that, as I took notes on these words, too electrifying to even vocalize, each and every one of these techniques was an outcome of an extended meditation on the pursuit of utmost stability. However, after a long contemplation of such designs, I have also come to understand that even the most robust of architectures have load-bearing walls that will crumble the entire construction should they be properly damaged. I find the study of such vulnerabilities quite intriguing. Oh. I know. Give me just a moment. Terribly sorry about that. Alright, now did I accidentally click on anything? Son of a horse. Let's see. If one were to ask me why ever, then I may answer that such study permits one to demolish and reconstruct defective construction, with a newly invented structure closer to perfection, to tear down the architecture with ease once its flaws have been identified and eliminated. Such ideation came to me in the wake of my adulthood, as I began undertaking tasks for the association. It was around that time when I reached the H section of the library. I began to muse that perhaps flawed structures are ambling about in the name of human anatomy. I had a sudden thought that I wished to correct these flaws, not only by the association's orders, but compelled by my nature as a researcher. Indeed, the human anatomy, though it may initially appear rather consistent across every individual, transfigurates into different structures as the body grows. Certain structures grow to be increasingly unstable in their physical blueprints, yet are reinforced by the cement and steel frame of a powerful mind that allows them to stand steadfast. Whereas certain other structures have firm physical balance, yet have built themselves an incredibly flawed internal design. The more flawed a structure is, the more obvious their vulnerabilities become. With my research, I may demolish them with a mighty and precise strike, so that they may be rebuilt into a proper shape. Thus completed is the mastery of the fist. The mastery of an art that, instead of the polymorphous fickleness of the keys that unnecessarily destroy the outer layer, strikes at the core of the structure. Indubitably, that is why I, a structure myself, have selected these fists as my passion. Alright, let's see here. Next on the list, I believe we'll go with the Eurodivi. Or Eurodivi? I don't know how to pronounce that.
실컷 찍어라. 이왕이면 흩뿌린 피가 잘 담길 수 있겠지.
AI. D-Corp staff standard issue weaponry. A rice cooker that doubles as a slow cooker for hearty beef stew. Cute chicken-shaped plush, lollipop, candies of various flavor too. All kinds of items are on display in each stall at this famous bartering market of the Eurodivier underground hideouts. The child came here to trade for an item of great importance. That's why she scrounged for every single leftover screw she could find after building her invention. 4 screws for a box of cigs. Aren't they of equivalent worth? Ah! Nonsense. This box is packed to the brim with cigs, I'll have you know. 7 screws. The Eurodive merchant shakes his head, but the child wasn't going to back down just yet. She shoved the screws on her palm closer to his face and declared, 4. 6. And that's with the discount for being one of us, lass. 4. 5. I won't go any lower than that, alright? 4. Refuse again, and I'll SYNC. Perhaps the child's glare intimidated him. His eyes began to wander in search of something he needed, something she would be happy to take care of in return for the box of cigs. It came to a sudden stop on his radio that broke down some time ago. His attachment radio. Wait, just hold on a moment. How about this? No need to pay me with screws, yeah? Just get this broken radio working again and I'll give you the whole box. Oh, great. So I did try my hand at fixing it, and from what I can tell, it's a wiring problem down here. Just as the merchant was starting to explain what was wrong with his radio, the child pulled out a massive spanner from somewhere and began smashing the merchant's radio with it. Clang, clang, clang. The heavy sound of metal slamming into metal, something one wouldn't expect to hear outside places like the workshops, was more than enough to freak out the merchant. He jumped from his seat screaming and tried to stop the child, but it was too late. What the hell, lass? Look, it's completely busted. Look harder. The merchant, after a moment of silence for his crushed radio, dejectedly reached out and pressed its buttons. And exclaimed with joy. Huh? That worked? You can always trust percussive maintenance to do its job. The child was no longer interested in conversing further with the merchant. No matter how happy he looked as he tinkered with the radio, he was now looking at the other child, who was eyeing the sundry lollipops on display at some other stall. She took a box of cigarettes from the merchant before kicking the other child in the shin. Oh. No more lollipops. Time to give me a job. Now. You know, I'm technically your captain, right? How come you're always kicking me to get my attention? You're so mean. The child protested with a lollipop in his mouth and rubbed his shin in pain, but his expression made it quite clear that he didn't really mind this small violence. In fact, it appeared that the other child was used to such treatments from her. He nonchalantly produced a bundle of paper from his overcoat and placed it in her hand. I would appreciate it a lot if you could come to our hideout to pick up your next assignment. Anyways, I trust you'll take care of this. I trust that you'll take care of this list just as well, right? Your appreciation is NOMB. The targets you gave me last time were too bland. I barely felt anything from bashing in their skulls. Then you'll like this one. Your next target is a bigwig, an actual industrialist, the proprietor of the biggest factory in the area. He's... The child's lips slowly curled into a smile as the other child continued to explain her target. The child, now outside the Urdivier hideout, and weapon in hand, slowly stalks her target. The look of unsuppressed elation is clear on her face. That brat. He finally fished up something exciting. In her hands is a piece of paper they called the list. Names of those who exploited the weak and the downtrodden filled the paper from corner to corner, barely leaving any white paper to be seen under all that ink. The child's current target was on the list. It's such an artistic ecstasy to watch the look of someone who's never experienced shortened time have their time taken from them. This child didn't have some grand just purpose in mind when she picked up this list. She doesn't really care about redistribution of wealth or making sure that no one goes hungry either. The heinous acts of evil men was none of her business either. In fact, even the Urdivier ideology was none of her business. She just enjoyed cutting the halves short, whether it was cutting their time short or their lives. ROW is the AOS. The child suddenly breaks into a sprint after passing the flickering street light. The child swings the spanner, albeit at an oddly slow speed. If someone with a lot of time were to see it, they would even be able to tell the exact trajectory of that swing. But the rich man still failed to dodge her assault, as she swung it at the meticulously calculated angle that left no room for him to move. A weighty, blunt noise briefly echoes through the alley. The child grins satisfactorily as she places the cigarette she traded for between her lips. She'd extracted quite a bit of time from that target. She'd extracted quite a bit of time from the target. That's when she noticed a brief, flashing light next to the street light. A T-Corp surveillance camera. That recording won't do this piece of art justice. The child furrowed her brows and swung her spanner again, time at the camera. The surveillance camera promptly drops to the ground. Now, isn't this a much better angle? Neat. I always like Ryoshu's upties. They're very fun. Also, of course, I got the new wow. Here you go. Does remind me I need to. Starting to wonder what would be a good team for her. I'm sure I'll figure it out. And now we see the DSG Association.
주먹이 휘감긴 이 광희의 차는 켜켜이 쌓아온 지식의 무게를 바라여 너를 깨부술지니.
I also always enjoy Mr. Salt's upties. I think he's one of my favorite characters, right behind Donkey. It is a rather straightforward question. Unlike information, the accumulation of knowledge involves two extra steps: perception and understanding. One must apply various perspectives to what information was gained, make it their own, and only then does it become knowledge. Sounds of rustling papers fill the library. The child does not look away from the pages of his book as he responds to the notepad scribbling interviewer. Ah, a little water. So just looking or listening to something once isn't enough. That's not exactly straightforward, but I think I get what you mean. And the purpose of the late night study sessions is to gain a deeper understanding of, so they're in order to gain more knowledge? The interviewer took detailed notes of every word coming out of the child's mouth. She didn't forget to constantly ask him questions like a good student either. The interviewer grew increasingly excited with every detailed answer the child gave. She was finally getting some real answers from her interview subject for once, so she intended to get the most out of this interview as she could, especially as her other subjects weren't as receptive to her questions. Might even be crying tears of joy inside. That is certainly one of the perspectives from which to view our practice. It is most likely not incorrect, if incomplete. Incomplete? Do you mean that there are other reasons? These late-night study sessions double as catch-up sessions. These late-night study sessions double as catch-up sessions. They are the best time to replenish knowledge lost during a contract. New knowledge can be gained in the process of relearning what was lost. That is the core of the DSG Association's late-night study sessions. Right, I get it now. While solidifying what you've studied before is important, you shouldn't neglect to learn completely new things either. That's some wisdom right there. So, how's that going? The sound of a rustling bag of chips echoed from somewhere in the room. I wonder who that could be. There was an infinitesimal twitch by his brows. The interviewer couldn't help but cover her mouth to hide her laughter. The child narrows his eyes, scanning the room for the culprit who dared to make that noise, before letting out the smallest groan of frustration. We are making the intended progress, despite certain shortcomings. I know this can't possibly be easy. The interviewer lightly chuckles to herself after scribbling the following observation in the notepad. Pretty unfriendly, but also less of a hard-ass than expected. A next question. So, another popular image of the DSG Association is that it is an association that specializes in contracts involving relics and ruins. Do you have any personal opinions regarding those contracts? I merely carry out the will of those who have taken me under their wings. If you would like to hear my reply still, I should be able to formulate a sufficient reply based on available information. Each relic has its idiosyncrasies in usage and mechanisms. Naturally, using them requires deep study and analysis. That is the process during which we gain an abundance of first-rate knowledge and even have first-hand experience of the unique atmosphere of the ruins. I judge them to be one of the foremost sites of education. Ruins as sites of education, huh? Well, that's certainly a unique but impressive perspective. Though the interviewer's note said, I have no idea what he's talking about, but that sounds pretty impressive. She flashed a big, knowing smile back at the child. Alright then, last question, and I'll get out of your hair. Do you have any long-term goals as a fixer? Blah, 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 blah. Do you have any long-term goals as a fixer, Director? Maybe there's some coveted knowledge that you're seeking? My goal is to be granted audience with the Saint. The Saint? How are they like? In each cardinal branch of the Dieshi Association is a saint. They are wise people, all individuals of unfathomably grand repositories of knowledge. Oh, I see. So you have people you look up to. You're making such a big deal out of gaining not even an audience with them. I guess they're really busy. It would be accurate to state that I, at this moment, cannot meet them. So there's some kind of a condition you have to fulfill? I must continue to persevere in my studies and grow my repository of knowledge. Then I guess it's only a matter of time before you gain an audience with them. Well, looks like that's everything. We can... A loud alarm blared through the halls of the library just as the interviewer was putting her notebook back into her pocket. A librarian ran toward the child and whispered something in his ear. He nodded calmly in response. The child's relative composure heavily contrasted with the interviewer's panic. It appears that someone has broken into this establishment in search of our holy relic. Holy relic? High-ranking fixers might have heard about Dieshi Association's holy relics, but the interviewer's knowledge extended only as far as the rumors did. She cocked her head to the side, not sure what he was talking about. The interviewer sat in silence, anticipatingly looking at the child for an answer, but he showed no signs of reciprocating her expectations. Who could it be? If Raiden Association is... Another new syndicate covets our holy relic. I assume this invasion is their doing. They wear red masks, emblematic of their organization. It should not be very difficult to identify them. The child rose from his seat and wrapped his stoles over his fist. The interviewer's wandering eyes soon turned into a look of concern for the child. If they're bold enough to break into an association office, then it's likely that they're no mere backstreets ruffians. Please, be careful. There is no need to worry. I have been rather studious as of late. The syndicate henchman looked around nervously with a key in his hand. Damn it! I thought this was supposed to be one of the holy relics, but this ain't even a relic! Well, of course, because the true holy relics of the Dieshi Association are held by its saints, and only its saints. The keys and stoles that the other librarians use are just downgraded versions of the true holy relics. You mistook the holy relic's blessing for the relic itself, allowing misinformation to guide your path. Well, screw it. I'll use this to... The henchman rushes forward, the key in his hand, but the child doesn't even blink an eye. The brilliant light of knowledge, so diligently studied, focuses on the child's fist. And the building soon echoes with the heavy noise of crumbling floor. Once things have calmed down somewhat, the interviewer carefully exited the room, only to be greeted by a surprising sight. Before her were numerous syndicate members splayed out across the demolished floor, and the completely unharmed child stood tall amidst them. The interviewer whips out her notepad and begins furiously scribbling down the scene before her. The child she interviewed earlier, the one with a particularly large appetite, told her that the Dieshi Association was more than just an educational facility, but hearing it and seeing it in person are two different things. The invading syndicate members were learning this the hard way as well. While the interviewer assumed that the syndicate members would have an ace up their sleeves, considering they're bold enough to attack an association office, there was something that the syndicate members missed. It was that the Dieshi Association was not an association of frail scholars. I have beaten wisdom into this foe, for it has chosen to face me. But a powerful fist honed by endless erudition and experience. Cool. Alright, let's see here. Do I have anybody else? No. I got one of the ring pointer lists, but I think I've I think I'll save the reading for Don Quixote, and then I should probably also do the Hoofy Association. But I'm not running Tremor. All right, we'll head in here. Now I already did my week's mirror dungeon because I had to get that last shot of hold on, what was it? The last shot of killing time tickets that I needed. That's curious. Either way, I'll probably still stick with the Ting Tang Gang, but I will spec into maybe a sinking team. Come to think of it, I should probably swap all this back. Then we'll just go and click on sinking. Big brain. Now, I did hear some rumblings that apparently, I think it was T-Corp Donkey and Isang worked pretty well together. So let's see here. I'll go with Molar Office. Probably not the Jefe. You... Can't remember. Do you inflict extra? No. No, there's not really a good Gregor for sinking more than I'm thinking about it. It all rhymes. Anyway, the DSC. And then... yeah, no, I don't think Yoshi does either. But, so we could just take the Bistro boys. And then maybe... Am I gonna have enough gluttony? Actually, I can just look. Yeah, I'll have plenty. I will have plenty. Looks like I'll actually have a pretty decent spread here too. Not a lot for lust. But we should get to see this new Mr. Salt in action. Ooh, decisions. Crumbs. I love crumbs. Yeah, little crumb. And then the unloving. Or the unmoving. I don't. Thanks, I'll take it. Then we'll go, we'll just go this way. Okay, so we'll try you, and then you, and you, and you, and you. Yeah, this looks like it should be fine. Famous last words. Alright, first I should actually read what he does. Insight, discard, max value 6. Okay.